Hello folks, welcome along to A Taste of Country with Lucia Butler. I've got a gentleman here beside me. It's Glen Flynn and he's awfully nice.
Thank you very much, Lucia, all the way from Tullamore in County Offaly. That's why I'm awfully nice. And I'm delighted to be here in the kitchen of Conway's 3 at approximately 3:15 on Saturday morning. And even though I should be in my bed, I'm glad to come here and have this chat with yourself.
Okay. Well, it's worth it, isn't it? You've just come off stage there, Glenn, and a great night it was.
It was a powerful night. I'm delighted for Seamus. It was a great crowd, great bands. And it started at about 8:30 this evening, and it's only about 10 minutes finished, and it was a great night. And great to see some of the faces that I met years ago over here that I haven't seen for a good few years. And they were dancing and having a great time, and I had a great time. And I think by looking at you now, you had a great time as well, Lucy.
Where would you have seen them all, Glenn? In the Galtymore, etc.?
Yeah, it was surely the Galtymore. There was, I think it was Seamus Hennigan down there in the Lord Nelson as well.
On Holloway Road.
Yeah, Holloway Road. The Gresham days, the Hibernian, Fulham.
Camden Town.
Camden, that's right. And all them places.
Forum, wasn't it? Forum.
That's right. I think there was St Jude's over here. There's a number of places, but I haven't seen a lot of places. I knew the faces that I'd seen. I recognised the faces tonight, but names, I had a few names right. But it was great to see them all there tonight, and it's a sort of a nostalgic night, I suppose.
Absolutely, absolutely. Glenn, before we go any further, you are from County Offaly. You're from around Tullamore.
Just outside Tullamore, living now in a place called Ballinnagar. I was born in a place called the Wood of O. It's a strange name, the Wood of O. It was just outside Tullamore, a place called Ballydaly, out that direction. And I'm living now in Ballinnagar for the last 10, 12 years. So yeah, it's handy. It's great for my job because 2 hours, two and a half hours will take you a long way when you're based more or less dead centre of Ireland.
I was just going to say that, more or less centre of Ireland there.
A long way, so it's for my job. It's pretty good to be living there.
And are you from a big family? 4 or 5?
Yeah, 6, 5 girls and myself. I was the eldest of the 6 of us. And
did them girls boss you around?
They did when I was. Yeah, I got a very hard upbringing. Yeah, I was cutting the rough end of the stick the whole time. You know, Mammy, he's hitting me and all. I'd run for my life. But
is there any singers amongst them, Glenn?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. When we were heading up to the grandparents' house, they're from a place called Clonaslee in County Laois. My father's. That's where he came from. And years ago, when we'd be travelling up there, say to see them, we'd be coming home in the car and a sing-song would start, and they were the best of harmony singers. There was 3-part harmonies going in the car coming home, but actually none of them took the music up. They were more interested in men and stuff and having babies and stuff, and so I just prolonged my game. So I was the only one that came out with the music. No, but they can do it all right. But no, they wouldn't like the life of travel on the roads and that type of thing, you know.
Glenn, can I ask you how many years you're on the road, roughly? I
started when I was 16. I actually that was back in the 80s, and I couldn't afford. To tell you the truth, I couldn't afford the price of a guitar, and I always wanted a guitar. And back then, it was, if you had a guitar, it was, you know, it was a pretty big deal as such, really. Not a big deal, but it was big. It was pretty. There wasn't many guitar players around, that type of thing.
You'd have been very lucky, wouldn't you, to have one?
So. We were actually, I was not in around this time of the year, actually, funny enough, there was a talent competition going on in Tullamore in a place called the Tower Lounge at the time, and we just drew home the turf from the bog, and the next day there was a family reunion out in the house out in Durrow outside Tullamore, but that evening decided to go into the Tower Lounge to have a drink, and them days, I think the pubs were closed around maybe 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. They were closed. That was the closing time. All
from the bottles and no tills, the paper, pen and paper tied up.
Absolutely. And there was a talent competition on the same night, and God be good to her, a lady, she entered my name for the competition. I didn't even know a thing about her. Her name is Bridie Malone from next door to us at home, Woodavo, and I was sitting down just drinking a glass of orange or something, and next thing the compere said, we've one late entry, you know, all the way from Tullamore and or from Woodavo. He says, put your hands together for Glen Flynn. So with that, I get very nervous. My heart started thumping at 90 mile an hour, my legs started shaking at 90 mile an hour as well. And I went up and I sang, and I went through to the next heat, and the next heat, and got to the final, and I won it. Now I'd say, to be honest, at the time I'd imagined I was very young at the time, maybe 15 or something at the time, so probably the age thing helped me as well, to be honest, because there were some great singers in it. But anyway, the prize money at the time was £100, which was a lot of money. And my aunt, who played guitar, I gave her the £100 the next day, and I says she was going to Dublin, so I believe get me a guitar in McCullough Piggott's, I think it was, or was it the little place of...
You knew where that guitar was. You'd obviously had looked at it before.
Yeah, I had it up there before, it was in the window, and it just says, didn't know anything about guitars at all. So she went up next day and she got the guitar. The guitar cost £83, and I had £17 for me my singing competition as well. So there was a lot of money at the time, you know. So I got lessons then, and I started playing in bands, and we were...
Can I just interrupt you there? When you won that competition, did that inspire you to just get out and go and do what you love doing?
Well, I always wanted to do this. I remember...
Were you shocked to win the competition, seriously?
I was, to be honest, and I was because I just... there were some great singers in it, but as I said, probably there was an age thing that helped me along. Anyway, but that's different. That's not for another
you're
day.
a good singer, Glenn. You are a good singer now.
But, I always wanted to play in a band, and I always remember even at home sitting down with the brush, sweeping brush at home, and I'd there's a mirror in the sitting room, and I'd stand in front of the mirror, posing to the mirror as if I was like Elvis or something with a guitar. And
were you brushing the hair then?
I was on a holiday, yeah. Look at me now. But anyway, and there was the records were being played at home, and I used to play along. I think it was Big Tom. There was single records at home that I hadn't a clue who they were, but the songs sounded good, and I was strumming along. I used to pains in my hands after hitting the handle of the brush, you know. But I always wanted to, and got going ahead then, and then from the smaller bands locally playing around, I remember I think it was John Hogan who came on the scene, Daniel who came on the scene.
John is Offaly as well there.
He is Offaly's across the hills, as the man said from me. So they were driving, the country music was flying then, you know, and I always wanted to get into a band. There was no point in just, I wanted to get into a band that was a big sound, it was a big thump at the time, you know. So
you knew what you wanted, obviously.
Yeah, so luckily enough then I got going then with Sean Cuddy. That was the first break. I think I was about 18 at the time, and I spent a good few years with Sean, 8 or 9. I done a year with Trudy Lawler after that, and then I spent over 7 years with Mick Flavin, and I finished with Mick. And now for the last 11 years or so, I am with a lady from Scotland called Isla Grant. So I tour with Isla whenever she's touring around the world, and I also then, in the meantime, in between the gigs, I do my own thing with Maya Sweeney from Donegal. She looks after the dates and she plays keyboards. So
lovely lady indeed.
Yeah. So we're grand. We're tipping away as nicely as what I want to do, and it's you get to see new parts of the world, you meet new people, and you know it's keeping new interests, different interests the whole time. So.
Okay, Glenn, when you were growing up, who would have inspired you in the country music scene? Like, would it be the American or the Irish, or maybe a bit of both?
Well, when I was listening to the records at home, I don't know who half of them were, but I remember one Christmas, and a few years previous to this, my mother had got me always an album for Christmas, and I got Foster and Allen's album. But this Christmas anyway came up anyway, and this fella by the name of Daniel O'Donnell came on the television in the ad. And I said, this sounded good, and it was country. Now I was never really into country music at the time as such. I wasn't really into it. I was into it, but I wasn't really, you know, at the same time. But he came over with this country and Irish thing, and it sounded nice, so I told her, so give me that album this Christmas, you know. And so that was really the start of me with country music. And then as I started listening to the Irish acts after that, and actually I was just chatting Michael O'Brien. Michael was here tonight as well, and Michael was on the road at the time, and I got albums of Michael and different bands, and then I started getting into the more American stuff. So it was an education as it was going on in life, to be honest. It was just an education for me. But to date now, yeah, I'd have a great time for more so the older American stuff. The modern stuff doesn't really do much for me, to be honest, you know. And lucky enough, I had the pleasure of playing with Gene Watson on a couple of occasions when he toured here, and I also played steel guitar with Georgette Jones the last time she came here for a night in Carlow. So it was nice, and but the older stuff I would prefer, but unfortunately I think it's not stuff.
Okay, and I do believe you do a bit of songwriting.
I do plenty of songwriting, and I only songwrite when I'm away from home, as in Australia, New Zealand. That's when the pen comes out. Now, there was often times I started 1 or 2 lines and I just threw in the bin. But luckily enough, I did wrote a few songs, and indeed I've recorded.
You wrote one, the Her Bossman,
That's
Pat
right.
Garrett. Very nice song, Love Takes Two.
Absolutely. Pat wrote that song and recorded that song for Pat, and Pat's a good songwriter too, in fairness to him. And but it's a different art. I wouldn't really call myself a songwriter, but I dibble and dabble, and that's about it.
That's a nice dibble and dabble. But have you ever noticed maybe 4 lines that come into your head and you're driving and then they're gone?
That's right. And not too long ago here, actually, I was coming home one night and this whole melody came into my head. Of course, I had no phone or saying it was a really nice piece now, and gone the next morning. Say I'll have it next morning. Woke up, not for the life of me could I think of it.
That's a shame,
anyway,
isn't
that's it. That's life.
Yeah, that happens. But and any plans for the future? Maybe how about a DVD? Have you got a DVD?
No, I never got that far yet, but I'm thinking of it. I'm told that we should do a DVD.
Who told you that one?
Well, I won't go down the road. A few a lady in pink here tonight actually told me. Lucia, someone was her name. But anyway,
Butler, maybe?
That's her now. But anyway, no, a few people already have said to do a DVD, so maybe you will. I probably need a bit of a push to do
something
that,
to think about, Glenn, in all fairness.
And maybe we're just working on a new album at home at the minute, so hopefully by the end of the year I'll have a new album out as well, and we'll just keep going, as best we can. That's all we can do.
That's very good. And Glenn, just before we finish up, if people want to get in touch with you, I know you're on Facebook there.
I'm on Facebook, and send a friend request, I'll surely accept them. And I don't have a website, and actually something I have to do very shortly. Actually, Dave Moynihan, a friend of mine down in Wexford, your own county.
I know Dave, and
Dave has a son called John, and he says that he'll do it for me. But he says, Glenn, you're too slow again, not sending up the information to him. So I have to send on the information to him, and he'll organise the thing for me. So that'll be that. And
them boys were very big in their day down in Wexford. Dave Moynihan and brass band.
Right.
In my day in Cameras and Adamstown and all the Ballroom of Romance.
That's right. They were a whole family band. They're a 3-piece now. A very talented band of lads, and they're doing very well for themselves, and they're good friends of mine. But no, Dave's son does the website, so I have to get all the information someday just passed down to him, and hopefully he'll set something up. But I have a few tracks actually on YouTube as well anyway, so I have, so people in Glen Flynn, there's 4 or 5 tracks on YouTube, and that's more.
So listeners, when you hear this interview with Glenn, pop over to his page and say hello and tell him you heard his interview played on Irish Country Music Radio.
That's for sure, Miss Lucia Butler.
And Glenn, just before we finish up, is there anyone you'd like to say hello to?
I'd like to say hello to all the friends and listeners of ICMR Radio, and to Pat Garrett there as well, and I know I work for Pam Corbett down there in Galway Bay as well, and I shouldn't start mentioning names now, because
all the presenters,
every one of them, and I'm no good for names, listeners and friends, and hopefully we'll see some of the listeners at a show somewhere around the country, in Adult Dancing Night some night, if not myself, with Isla or someone.
And if you see Glenn, go up and say hello to them.
And say that.
And you're out in Australia as well, New Zealand?
New Zealand, Australia. I'm going to Sri Lanka in July for a week. On the 20th of July, we're with Isla for one night.
Do you need anyone to carry your suitcase?
I think you've passed the test tonight, Lucy.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
You're on. Passport, please. But I think no, we're going just for one show. Actually, it's a 4,500 seater. It's sold out as we speak and all.
When is that, Glenn?
It's on the 20th or 22nd of July in Sri Lanka, in a place called. Can't think of the name of the place. But anyway, we're just flying in for one night and flying out the next day. So it's somewhere new. And then later on in the year we're in the UK and we're in Scotland. But then next year we're back over to Australia, New Zealand, and Newfoundland, St. John's there in Canada. I love it. Nova Scotia.
You have listeners in those places.
Yeah. So
go pop up and say hello to them.
Absolutely, exactly. And so I look forward to that. And as I said, next year is a busy year. So this year is sort of a chill year. So looking forward to next year as well. So
Glenn, do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure catching you. I know you're just off the stage there, so thank you very much for taking the time out to come and chat to me.
Thank you, Lucia, and thanks for all your plays on the radio. And as we say, we just speak music and Facebook. We met, and last time I met you was in Wembley, I think. I was playing with John McNichol, I think, at the festival, wasn't that it?
At the Wembley Arena, the country festival. Yeah,
that was last night, and we're here tonight. And sure, we'll continue to be Facebook friends and all the rest, Lucia.
Aren't you a lucky one?
I'm the lucky boy tonight, I'll tell you.
All right, listeners, I hope you enjoyed that there. That's a chat there with Glen Flynn. As I said, he's awfully nice. He's from Offaly, and that's what to say, isn't that? You're awfully nice.
Awfully nice, and awfully nice.
All right, Glen, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lucy.
And on behalf of myself, Lucia Butler, I'd like to wish you continued success in all you do in your career and all your touring and all. The very best of luck for myself and all the presenters at IrishCountryMusicRadio.com.
Thank you.
So keep it country. Thank you very much from Lucia Butler
and Glen Flynn.
God bless and thank you.